Doctor Who The Invasion, the 17th story of the second Doctor, is written by Derek Sherwin from a story by Kit Pedler and starring Patrick Troughton, Fraser Hines and Wendy Padbury. The story that introduces UNIT for the first time, and John Levine as Sergeant Benton, well, Corporal in this story. Nicholas Courtney returned as Colonel, changed to Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart, who first appeared in The Web of Fear, and again the return of the Cybermen. The story was originally going to be the 6 parts and called Return of the Cybermen, but obviously changed to The Invasion, the 8-parter story, which is pretty exciting when you think about it and research it. The character Professor Edward Travers was going to return again, but they chose to replace him with Professor Watkins in order to pay Mervyn Haseman and Henry Lincoln, but Professor Travers does get mentioned a few times in the story. In the script there was a scene where the units attack in the car and killed by Cybermen. The Gregory mentioned, but they didn't film it because of the time, but Ian Marter added that scene in the novel version. Apparently Douglas Camfield didn't want to use Dudley Simpson to do the music for the story, which is a shame, as he is a fantastic music composer, as I said many times. So Dan Harper got hired to score this story, and I think he did a great job as well. And this is the first Doctor Who story to be filmed out of order because of then improved videotape editing technology. Part 1 and 4 were sadly missing, so they animated both parts and released it on DVD in 2006. And this is the first missing Doctor Who episode to be animated, and I think this is the best Doctor Who animation we have at time of recording. I love the 2000s. After the TARDIS rebuilt itself, the Doctor, Zoe and Jamie have recovered, and the missile was firing at the TARDIS, and the Doctor is struggling to defend it.
That's why we're stuck in space!
And TARDIS exploded and, well, everyone died. Well, this is a sad story. I shall see you guys in the next video. Okay, I'm just kidding. No, they actually survived and arrived in the field with cows, and I enjoy the bit where they laughed when they saw a cow on scanner. As the TARDIS became invisible, the Doctor, Jamie and Zoe went out, and the guy gave them a lift in the lorry to London when it's safe, as he's been followed by a company called International Electromagnetics. So the TARDIS team went to Professor Travers' house, but it said Watkins. So as the Doctor rang the doorbell, a pretty Isabel who's modelling answered the door, and apparently Travers has moved to America. She hasn't heard from her uncle for a week because he's working at International Electromagnetics, and she couldn't contact him. So the Doctor and Jamie looked on the writing on the wall, because you can't lose a wall, which is a fair point. But still naughty though. So while Isabel is taking a few pictures of Zoe modelling, the Doctor and Jamie went down to the building, and being watched by Corporal Benton and Tracy, the Doctor uses the machine to try contact Professor Watkins, but it kept saying the same thing, like when he's using the telephone saying party not available. And I love the bit where the Doctor is like, oh you stupid machine. The Doctor and Jamie gets gassed and about to be interrogated by Packer, but Tobias Vaughan wanted them in his office, and apparently Professor Watkins wasn't available. After Vaughan gave Jamie the radio, they get escorted out, and Vaughan opens the secret passage and cyber module inside it, and I love the sound effects, and the cliffhanger is fantastic. It's giving me the goosebumps. While Isabel is still taking pictures of Zoe posing, the Doctor and Jamie gets captured by Benton and Tracy, and they get taken to Unit HQ and met Lethbridge Stewart again, changing his title from Colonel to Brigadier, as I've already mentioned. He tells the Doctor and Jamie what UNIT is, giving them a cup of tea and telling them that what's strange about International Electromagnetics is that some people haven't come out, and a couple of men were acting weird. Cyber Module said to Vaughan that the Doctor is known by Cybermen from Planet 14, and he must be destroyed. Because Zoe was still worried about the Doctor and Jamie, so she and Isabel went down to the building, and love the bit when Zoe messes up the computer and by saying a lot of words which caused it to destroy itself. So Vaughan sends men to get Zoe and Isabel to his office. The Doctor and Jamie wanted to investigate, so they stopped by at Watkins' house and grabbed some sandwiches and looked on the wall and realised that they went to look for them. So the Doctor and Jamie sneaks back in the building while Isabel and Zoe were taking hostage. The Doctor and Jamie went patrolling but got captured by Packer and his men. Zoe isn't in part 3 because Wendy Padbury was on holiday. So the Doctor and Jamie got taken hostage. Vaughan allowed them to see what's inside the box, but it was too late as the vehicle was driven away. While Benton is reporting to Brigadier about the Doctor and Jamie being taken by Vaughan, the Doctor, Jamie and Vaughan ended up in a factory and in Vaughan's office that looks very similar as it was duplicated. Vaughan wanted to question the Doctor furthermore, so as the Doctor and Jamie went to see Professor Watkins, and he was figuring out what Vaughan was up to, so then Packer and Vaughan came in and given the Doctor a choice. Either he gives Vaughan the TARDIS or hands Zoe and Isabel to Packer. As the Doctor and Jamie got taken to the lift by Packer, the Doctor managed to fool Packer, so he and Jamie went in the lift and knocked the controls so they climbed through the shafts while Vaughan was kicking off and Packer is sending guards. After an intense scene where the lift was about to squash the Doctor and Jamie, they ended up on the roof and climbed back down. So the Doctor and Jamie gets into stealth mode as the alarm sets off. The Doctor and Jamie hid inside a train carriages. Jamie hid inside the crate where something is moving. Wow, what a great cliffhanger. Makes your heart beat faster. While Packer and his men are searching Jamie and got out of the crate and try to warn the Doctor that something is moving under the blanket, while Vaughan orders Packer to do his mission right, the Doctor and Jamie got told by Vaughan that they have 10 minutes to give up, otherwise he will get Zoe and Isabel killed. So the Doctor asked Brigadier to send a helicopter, so him and Jamie climbed on the ladder and managed to rescue Zoe and Isabel. Sadly for Packer, him and his men kept shooting, but they keep missing. Even Jimmy laughed when he said Packer and his men couldn't shoot a flying elephant. Oh, it's so funny. While Vaughan is taking Professor Watkins to London, Brigadier told everyone that they're dead lucky. Which is true because that scene was so intense. It's like a very hard level in a video game. If it was Call of Duty or Grand Theft Auto, you definitely wouldn't stand much of a chance, unless you were a game master. Apparently Sally Faulkner's skirts kept blowing up around her neck while she's climbing on the ladder to the helicopter, and Fraser Hines remembered when he read about that Queen Elizabeth II had lead weights sewn into the hem of her skirt to avoid that from happening to her, so he put some lead weights into his kilt, which is the best idea. The Doctor wanted to see what Jamie saw, so him and Jamie used the canoe to paddle to warehouse, and they saw the workers switching a device on, and it reveals the Cyberman inside the blanket. That must have made audience in the 60s terrified, and it's no wonder why they hid behind the sofas, because that is so scary. And I think Patrick Troughton is 100% amazing as the second Doctor, and I do love Fraser Hines as Jamie McCrimmon. He has a great chemistry with the Doctor and his other companions. I do love Wendy Padbury as Zoe Harriet, a great companion, and she's badass. It's nice that they brought back Nicholas Courtney as Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart, who's one of the greatest recurring characters. It's always nice to have a recurring character in Doctor Who. John Levine is Benton. I love the character, he's funny and independent, and I'm glad he appeared in more than one stories. They really should bring him back. Kevin Stoney played a villain, Tobias Vaughan, who's the boss in International Electromagnetics, who seems like a nice guy, perhaps too nice, but he is obviously up to no good, and I think he's a great villain. Peter Halliday played Packer, who's the head of security, and he also voiced Cyber Module, who's a cyber planner, a race that was created by the Cybermen to direct battle plans and strategies. I thought they're pretty cool and great ideas. They should bring them back as well. And I think the Cybermen design are fantastic as well. I love the voice, they're scary, and I can see that 2006 version took the inspiration, which is great. Sally Faulkner played Isabel Watkins, a model and photographer, who eventually gets married to a unit officer, Captain Jimmy Turner, played by Robert Sidaway. Isabel's uncle, Professor Watkins, who's a scientist and played by Edward Burnham. Jerry Cheshire played Jack Tracy, a unit member who works with Benton. James Thornhill played Sergeant Walters, a unit officer. Ian Fairbairn plays Mark Gregory, a researcher for International Electromagnetics. Edward Dentith played Major General Billy Rutledge, who's Brigadier's old friend until Vaughan took him over. Douglas Camfield's wife, Sheila Dunn, voiced a phone operator who annoys the Doctor and Zoe by saying party not available and some random stuff. Clifford Earl played Major Branwell, a military officer in charge of Henlaw Downs missile site. Murray Evans played that lorry driver who was apparently a unit agent working undercover in the International Electromagnetics, which is why he's being chased. The casts did an excellent job with their roles. The effects and everything has done really well for its low budget and time. They really have put a lot of effort into it. The pacing is well done for a 8-part story. The Doctor and Jamie went back to Unit HQ to warn Brigadier. Sadly, he can't do much action because he needs the evidence for the Geneva. Despite Isabel saying how great her camera can be, Brigadier wouldn't allow her because, well, she's a young woman. So she understandably disobeyed Brigadier, so she, Jamie and Zoe went to get the camera, and Benton drove them off. As Jamie and Zoe and Isabel went down to the sewers, they get caught by a policeman, so he went down to find them. Gregory and Vaughan have tested a Cyberman, and it went crazy and went down to the sewers, and that is a scary scene there. After Brigadier found out that the 3 teenagers went down to the sewers to take pictures of Cybermen, he sent his men to go after them. Cybermen killed a policeman. Jamie, Zoe and Isabel get surrounded by Cybermen, including the one it went crazy. Pretty intense there. As Jimmy and unit soldiers went down to the sewers, the Cybermen orders them to go with them or they will be destroyed.
You will obey instructions.
What do you want us to do?
You will come with us. Obey.
Man, the voice is pretty effective. So as one of the soldiers tries to make a run for it, Cyberman killed him. Because the other Cyberman was behaving wildly, it attacked a couple of Cybermen. The soldiers used grenades and got themselves, with Jamie, Zoe and Isabel, out. And Jamie got grabs, but luckily he's been saved. So back at the HQ, after Isabel developed her photos, Brigadier said the photos looked fake. So while Jamie is resting, Isabel talking to Jimmy and the Doctor examining something, Tobias gets Professor Watkins to shoot him. So he does, but he doesn't die, and eventually Professor Watkins is in Unit HQ. Gregory gets killed by Cybermen. As soon as there's electronic high-pitched noise, the Doctor seems to pass out, and it has affected some people, like the ones in the street. Jimmy warns everyone that the Cybermen came out the sewers, and what do you know? The Cybermen did came out the sewers. Another great cliffhanger. So after the Doctor recovers, Jamie, Zoe, Jimmy, Walters and Watkins runs through the hallway, and Jamie got shot. They headed to missile control room so they can fire a missile at the UFOs. The Doctor arrived in Vaughan's building and went to see him and tries to get him to defeat the Cybermen as they're going to destroy the Earth. The Cyber Module said Vaughan that he had betrayed the Cybermen, and the Doctor asked Vaughan if he wanted to be the ruler of the dead Earth. So after Vaughan destroyed Cyber Module with Cerebration Machine, Packer came in and asked Vaughan what he has done. So Packer gets killed by a Cyberman, so the Doctor killed it. He gets Vaughan to help him destroy the Cybermen, so Brigadier Zoe Isabel and his men went out to kill a lot of Cybermen, so did Vaughan and the Doctor at the factory. As Vaughan was about to get radio transmitter, the 3 Cybermen came. Vaughan killed 2 of them, but one of them killed Vaughan. And we get a hilarious scene the way the Doctor dodges 3 explosions and hurting his backside. Patrick Troughton is always amazing as the second Doctor. I used to play that clip in school quite a lot, and I had a couple of my friends laughing at that scene because it was so funny. So after Brigadier and his men blasted Cyberman and went to the transmitter, Isabel takes pictures of the Doctor modelling, so the soldiers use his missile to destroy the other Cybermen spaceships. So in the end, after the Doctor finishes the circuit, Jimmy, Isabel, Doctor and Zoe went on the Jeep, picks Jamie up from the hospital and drove to the field. Fraser Hines was barely in Part 8 because he was taking a break. So after the TARDIS team found where the TARDIS is, and as it's invisible still, they went inside it and Jimmy and Isabel watched it dematerialised. Man, what a story! I still get goosebumps from it. 8-part story with Second Doctor, Zoe and Jamie, Unit with the Brigadier, Vaughn the villain, and Cybermen all in London at present day. Great stuff there. It is one of my favourite classic stories, up there with The Tomb of the Cybermen. I had a blast watching it. What did you think of this story? Let me know in the comments down below. Thanks people as always for watching, and see you in the next video.